You can hold on to, looking deeper through the telescope. You can see that your home's inside of you. Just know that wherever you go, no, you're never alone. You will always get back home. Into your eyes, it's like watching the night sky or a beautiful sunrise. Well, there's so much they hold, and just like them old stars, I see that you've come so far to be right where you
Salam sejahtera dan salam we love UPM. Terlebih dahulu, saya ingin mengucapkan ribuan terima kasih kepada panel jemputan, para penonton yang sudi sertai dan juga pegawai-pegawai CEM yang bersusah payah untuk menjayakan program virtual CE UPM Fest My Career at MUHI Joblo Joblo dengan kerjasama Kementerian Pengajian Tinggi Malaysia. Saya Yashini Segren selaku moderator anda pada slot petang hari ini. Para penonton sekalian, tajuk yang akan dibincangkan pada hari ke-14 ini ialah Benarkah Pekerjaan Sekarang Semakin Pupus? Petang ini kita akan bersama Encik Ishak Karim yang merupakan career coach dari Infineon Technologies. Sebelum saya menyerahkan skrin ini kepada beliau, suka untuk ingatkan para hadirin yang sedang menonton siaran langsung ini untuk meninggalkan pertanyaan sepanjang slot berlangsung pada ruangan komen di FB page CEM UPM. Dengan itu, tanpa membuang masa lagi, saya mempersilakan Encik Ishak Karim yang bagi menyampaikan tajuk slot kita pada petang ini. Majlis dengan sukacitanya menjemput.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi taala wabarakatuh dan salam sejahtera kepada penonton-penonton yang hadir. Untuk sesi kali ini, pertamanya saya mengucapkan ribuan terima kasih kepada UPM kerana menjemput saya untuk berkongsi ilmu pada petang ini. Rancangan ini merupakan secara santai, tidak terlalu formal dan saya akan menggunakan sebaik mungkin kedua-dua bahasa, iaitu bahasa Inggeris dan bahasa Melayu ataupun bahasa Malaysia, tapi lebih kepada bahasa Melayu. Material yang saya sediakan pada hari ini adalah semuanya di dalam bahasa Inggeris. Saya akan cuba yang terbaik untuk bagi dalam bahasa Melayu, tapi kebanyakannya akan dilaksanakan dalam bahasa Inggeris. Jadi topik untuk hari ini adalah, benarkah pekerjaan sekarang semakin pupus? Is it true that the jobs today are extinct? Before I proceed with the presentation for today and sharing for today, let me introduce myself. I'm Ishak Karim, a semiconductor professional. I'm also a career coach, but not a career coach with Infineon Technologies. I'm here as me, and it's not related to Infineon Technologies whatsoever. I'm a semiconductor professional and also a social entrepreneur. So a little bit sebelum kita teruskan dengan perkongsian, let me introduce myself a bit so that you get to know me better before we move forward. As mentioned earlier, that if you do have a questions, you can just stop me and you can ask me either related to the presentation material or something in general if I could answer it. Okay, so a little bit of myself. The education background, I started in Felda area in Sekolah Rendah in 1984. Then I continue on with my SPM also in Sekolah Menengah in Felda area. Then I went to the KPP UITM, which is now is INTAC, for applied science, which is called the American Associate Degree. And I'm sorry, I should start the video. Okay, I'm sorry about that. I didn't have my video on. Now you can see the video, hopefully. Then I continue on with the bachelor degree in the George Washington University, and I continue on with the Master of Science in Operation Research in the same university and graduated in 1996. Upon graduation, I started as a product engineer in Siemens back then, and now, of course, Infineon, the same company that I'm in right now. Then I moved to be a senior product engineer with Kimonda pada tahun 2000 sampai 2005. Kemudian saya dihantar untuk short term assignee di Villa Austria dan kembali ke Malaysia. 3 bulan kemudian dihantar balik ke Dresden di Germany. Then saya stay di Kulim sampai 2011 and then joined Freescale for a short period of time. And now I come back to Infineon Malacca mula 2 tahun 16 sampai sekarang. Saya sudah berkahwin, ada 3 orang anak. Ini isteri dan anak yang kedua, anak yang bongsu, dan John anak yang pertama. Okey, aktiviti saya sebenarnya yang melibatkan diri saya dengan program sebegini adalah melalui LinkedIn. Saya merupakan career coach dan also inspirational icon di LinkedIn. Masa sekarang aktiviti yang saya lakukan menjawab soalan di LinkedIn, komen-komen dan posting quality contents. Saya juga ada menyediakan servis resume review, mock interview dan also career coaching. Setakat ini saya mempunyai 23,200 pengikut dan mempunyai connection sebanyak lebih kurang 20,500. Okay, so balik kepada tajuk kita hari ini. Back to our topic. Is it true that the jobs today are extinct? If you look at the current situation, it seems like all the jobs that you want are gone. That whether is that true or not? Then if you look at the current statistics, this is from the Department of Statistics from in the September 2020. Right now, the unemployment rate stands at 4.6%, which was in August is 4.7%. With this percentage, sekarang kita ada lebih kurang 737,000 orang yang tidak mendapat kerja or being unemployed or tidak bekerja. Ya, bila kita tengok daripada sejarah daripada tahun 82, trend agak stable for so many years in the range of like 3.5%. And then now recently, because of everybody knows, because of the COVID-19, then these numbers going up to about 4.7 or 4.6%. All in all, it's not too bad, but this is the current situation that we have. That means there's still people are hiring. There's still opportunity out there. Then it depends on kita punya how do you see that situation? How do you deal with that situation? How do you adjust yourself in terms of job hunting? Yes, we cannot change the fact that there's so many people are looking for a job, but there's not that many job vacancies. There's not many opportunities available out there. So we have to look at it a little bit detail on subsequent slides, and then we can dissect a bit on what's going on. What can we do about it? It's more important is what can we do about it. Yeah. So what are the issues right now? The issues that we're dealing is of course, everybody knows about retrenchments, and then also VSS. Many big companies, especially MNCs or GLCs, they're hiring freeze. Even until today, SMEs so frozen their hiring, and many are going through downsizing and then restructurings. Then it has been a while that we are in the employers market. It's so unfortunate we are in the employers market. Back then, during my time, that's 25 years ago or 20 years ago, it was an employees market, but now it's on employers market. The supply of graduates from IPTA and IPTS uh, is is much more. It actually is the demand for the job is a lot less compared to the number of graduates that we produce. Also, then we talk about the quality of graduates versus the quantity. Um, that is another topic that we can discuss a little bit more moving forward. And then program to job matchings. And then this is my favorite, where is the plug and play versus plug and play. Apa yang berlaku sekarang ini, permintaan daripada sebab sebagai employer mempunyai boleh membuat pilihan since they have a lot of choices out there of the good graduates, especially the fresh graduates, the good graduates, they tend to be very choosy because of these limited opportunities, and then only those who meet the quality. The quality here, you have to look at the quality of, it's not the quality is defined by your institutions. It's not the quality is defined by IPTA or IPTS, but it's more looking at the quality that is defined by the employers. So the employers are looking at certain qualities or certain characteristics of the graduates who fits into the employment. Even though, yes, agree, the number is not that big, it's not as big as it used to be, but there's still a pocket of here and there that can fit, provided that you have the qualities that they're looking for. And another issue that we're talking about is the program to the job matching. The program here refers to university programs, and then whether or not the programs that you are following, let's say, for example, your degree in electrical engineering, for example. So the contents of your program that you have, that you've gone through, does it match with what the company is looking for in terms of including the technical and then also the behaviors? In general, especially for the fresh graduates, the employer don't really pay that much attention into the technical capabilities. Of course, some big MNCs, because of the requirements, because of the hiring policy, you have to have a certain CGPA. But what's important is more into the quality of the behavior and attitudes. That's what they are looking for. Yes, small SMEs, especially SMEs, they are looking for plug and play. What plug and play is, meaning when they hire you and then they expect you to be able to work immediately, to be able to perform the job immediately. But what's happening is, not all of the cases, but most of the big number of the cases, plug and play. That means they hire somebody and then put it into work, and then just pray, hopefully, that it's everything is going to go well. So I also noticed then, if you go back to this program to job matching, it's normally it looks like the younger universities, not UPM, but the younger universities, especially states universities, they do have programs that is very dedicated and they're very specific to certain area. Then it's very difficult to match the specific programs that is so specific. Let's say, for example, you're really specific in drilling, if you oil and gas, for example. And then if you're in semiconductors, you are doing purely design certain chips that is not applicable to the operations that we have in Malaysia in general. Therefore, the job matching is not really, it's not fit very well. So that is among the problems that I've seen. recently after dealing with so many fresh graduates and then the hiring process. Okay, then another topic. This is another big topic that we talk about is the stagnation of starting salary for more than 20 years. This one is topik yang sangat hangat dibincangkan oleh pencari kerja yang muda, terutamanya fresh graduates, mengatakan kenapa gaji sekarang terlalu kecil berbanding dengan cost of living. Dengan belanja sara hidup, ya. Jadi we cannot change this situation. That's so unfortunate that we cannot change this situation. As a job seekers and as a career coach as well, we can convince the hiring manager to change this or convince the company to change this situation. But this one goes back to the basic supply and demand. If you don't want that job, somebody else will. Then it comes to the point at which where if Malaysians don't want to do this job, then let us hire somebody else from outside. And then they have justification of hiring somebody else outside if no Malaysians are going to take the job. Therefore, the government has no choice other than approving the request to hire somebody outside. So that could also be the reason for the company in general, as far as they operating and whoever runs the job, whoever does the job to them, it doesn't really matter whether it's Malaysian or otherwise. That's one topic. The other thing is Malaysia is known to be a cheap labor. This is known everywhere, especially in manufacturing area. Same goes with some constructions and then some other area as well. That Malaysian is known to be a cheap labor. That is the main attraction for the company to operate in Malaysia. They're cheap and they're smart. So this is where it goes. And if we were to make it a little bit more expensive, then they will go somewhere else. Because right now, the Philippines, for example, and then Vietnam is the next of the much more attractive country to operate any manufacturing or any other services that's out there. They're a lot cheaper now. So it's very difficult to handle the salary topic, actually. Then there's a question of, are graduates being choosy in selecting their jobs? To a certain extent, yes, but in general, what I've seen is they are willing to take whatever. Even the job seekers in general, they're willing to take whatever is offered. But the challenge is right now is the hiring managers or the company are not willing to open that up to hire somebody else who do not match the degree, for example, or who do not match with the requirements that they have, is because they are not really forced to hire somebody else, because whenever they're looking for that particular person they're looking for, right now they always can find somebody. So it's not really that challenging to really force to hire somebody else who are different than what they're looking for. The biggest issue, actually, from my experience, is candidates don't know what are the roles and responsibilities, especially in the engineering functions, or any functions in general anyway. I would encourage for the job seekers to really understand the roles and responsibilities in the advertisement. If you do know or understand what they're looking for, therefore you can prepare yourself to fit into, at least in your resume or during the interview, you can tell your stories that you fit into what they're looking for if you understand these roles and responsibility out there, especially for the fresh graduates. The working level or the working culture or the technical requirements during working is foreign to them. They're not familiar with that. Therefore, they keep applying whatever comes, and then if it doesn't fit, and of course they won't get a chance to be called for interview. And then is a lack of knowledge in industry. Right now, say everybody wants to go into oil and gas, for example, but what are there in oil and gas other than, yeah, they pay good money? That's period. That's the end of the discussion. But what exactly they are looking for in this industry? Because in any industry there's a lot of sections and subsections that you can do. For example, in my industry in semiconductors, we have wafer fabrication, we have back-end assembly and test. Even within the wafer fabrication, we have a lot of departments like a process, product quality, planning, logistic, R&D, development. Those are a lot of activities, a lot of departments in there that you can fit in. Say, for example, if you're in accounting, for example, then you can fit in any industries. But there's so unfortunate that I heard a lot of stories that those accountants, they only want to work for the big fours. They don't want to work for anybody else, just aiming for this big fours. If they don't get into this big fours, they keep hitting it until they get. But as an accountant, you can, as long as there's a company out there that runs, they're big enough, and then they do need an accountant. Or they do need a finance, for example. So these are the area that you can venture into for now until the economy is getting better, and then you can go back to whatever big force that you're looking for. Therefore, you really have to understand the industry itself. What really goes on in the industry? What do they need that you can venture into? Then we talk about expectation versus reality. That is, I don't know. I mean, I'm not saying that people are really looking at like those in drama TV3 or whatever. That shows, you're being an engineer, you dress up, you drive big cars, live a big house, and then, not doing much of the activities other than gossiping. But the reality is, this is when the first few weeks, then it's very difficult to adjust because the job seekers are not aware of the reality of the industry. Say, for example, if you work in the bank, then it's going to be nice. But if you're working in the bank, for example, when you come to the point at which the closing time, the closing week, and you really have to stay up really late. And same like in manufacturing, where we're running 24/7, should something, we have an issue in productions, then you have to stay back until probably 8 or 9 o'clock at night. But it's not always, but there will be some, risks of working a lot more than expected. With this current situation is, unfortunately, the waiting time for the fresh graduate is average about 6 to 7 months for those who are, I would say, average performance in college. And if you really good, and probably you can get it between 3 to 4 months. Of course, there's no doubt that some of a small number, I would say at top, not even 1%, that really gets the job immediately or even before you graduated. And then some of them can start at 4.8 or 5K or even 6. That is more, to me, there's more exceptions than the rules, but the normal standard or the average students or graduates, this is the time that I guess, based on those who are seeking my help to get a job. So this is I would say it's pretty fair statistics at current situation. Okay. Any questions so far?
Yes, sir. question.
Yes.
What jobs fields that are already extinct so far is not popular?
Is there really a jobs that really stink? Mostly anything that is it depends on the scope that we're looking at, right? If you're looking at I'm looking at all the audience. There are a university graduates level, let's say diploma and above. Those are all manual jobs that we have, especially in manufacturing, for example. They're all manual jobs. They are being replaced by the machines right now. Say, for example, if you're working in manufacturing, and then you have this, in the old days, I remember we have these outgoing inspections that using optical scope. Yeah, and I'm not saying they're totally completely disappear, but the numbers getting less right now because they are replaced by the automated inspection machines. That's one of them, and so those are all the manual assembly. For example, they were replaced by the automated assembly machines, and um, in the bank, say for example, Taylor right now is no longer there. Um, um, is if you go back way back, and then there's already a thing like those typists, for example. In the old days we have typists, but we don't have typists anymore that everybody can types by themselves. If it's really a thing per se, there's no really jobs like that. I don't think that is the case. It's only that it just it just transformed from the old job scopes to the new job scopes. Since many of the tasks that we're doing now is fully automated using computer or using modern machines, therefore you are still doing a part of the old job, but now is you have a lot more responsibilities. Um, those are the manual jobs. Yeah, it's something that is really you have to do it, but extinct altogether, like apa tu, like certain animal that we have, like dinosaur. No, at least not yet. At least not yet. It depends on how fast. One thing that we have to look at it is, like, say for example, somebody says, now we are replacing everything with IR 4.0 with the automation. Will that be normal operators? The answer is no. There still will be an operator in manufacturing, but they're not doing the job that they used to do. They are now doing the operating the much higher complex machines rather than doing the manual job. So I don't think that is totally completely extinct. There will still be there, but they may be called differently. It is less demanding, yes, but not completely gone. So the point is, it's not really we look at the job that is gonna stink, but it's more look at how can we enrich ourselves moving forward. How can you keep up with the technologies, and how you're gonna keep upgrades yourself so that you remain relevant. That is the focus, rather than worry about whether am I going to lose a job tomorrow. Any more questions?
Thank you, sir. Another
You're
question.
welcome.
As we are facing IR 4.0, what's about
Yes.
robotic field in Malaysia? Is it will be getting popular, or as we other countries we have a robotic, but Malaysia is so far nothing. But in the future, is there any possibilities we will have robotics?
Okay. The issue with IR 4.0 right now is so unfortunate that the investment for automation, be it in manufacturing or any other industries, oil and gas as well, the automation has been put on hold because of the automation needs a lot of capital. And the challenge is for the small companies that we always talk about ROI, return of investment, and there are certain companies has a limits of or accepted ROI, say 5 years. Anything that takes more than 5 years, they don't want to look at it. Some big companies that look at this automation as enabler. I would expect if the economy picks up in the next couple of years, then automation is going to be the thing in the future. So what do we need in the automation? Let's say robotics, for example, is PLC coding of the robotic itself, and the system integrator will come up, and then the development of automated systems, say for example, AGV is quite aggressive, but not that many players out there still. There will be a lot of opportunity for AGV. And then conveyor system is not that many either, even though conveyor system has been in the market for quite some times, but not that many players out there still. And this material handling systems, robotics, even robotic has been there since, for example, in the high-end semiconductor industry, for example, those are pick and place, be it in testing or in the process, they are already built in robotic arms. It's not, as smart as what you see in the movies, but is enough to serve the purpose at this point. Yeah, to answer your question, it's moving forward. There will be a lot of opportunity in automation itself. What's happening now is in the big companies, they're doing the automation based on the existing staff. I hope moving forward, when the economy start to picks up, and then they start to hire more automation engineers to be part of the team. I can see that all the big companies, the MNCs especially, they're moving towards this direction.
Thank you, sir. That's all for now.
Okay, so let's move on. If you have questions, then you can keep us the questions. Okay, so now I presented earlier, what was the issue, what we're dealing with right now. I'm going to propose a few of the steps that you can take to minimize the impact. Of course, that's no guarantee that if you follow this step, it's gonna work perfectly for you. But still, it depends. It's very general guidelines, how or what you need to do moving forwards. Okay, in the current situation, the companies don't advertise vacancies because they want to cut costs. Hiring through agencies and then advertise their vacancies on the internet is expensive. So they don't want to put that because they are not hiring in the big numbers. They're hiring maybe a handful of them, then they would rather save that money to do something else. So you need to have, wider eyes and then ears to really get the insider information. Normally, this hiring is only made known to that departments. And for example, if that department is hiring, then they use the existing staff and saying, hey, did you know somebody who can fit into this role? And then go and help me to find one. And then this is where you see this, sometimes they post in the internet, in LinkedIn, for example, not on the job section, but on the wall, on their posting, they see this a lot of these kind of advertisement now. Then if you don't see them, you really need to have somebody that work for that company to tell you whether there's any vacancies or not out there. And then of course you have to compete, and then only the best wins. Yeah. So this is this it goes without saying really. It's really, if you say how to give you an analogy, this is like, running for the Sukan C, for example. Yeah, if you're a sprinter running for Sukan C, if you make to the states, if you make to the daerah, that one doesn't work. Still, it's not good enough. It's really have to put yourself out there. It's not so much on you're not good enough to compete. You just don't put enough effort to to compete out there with the rest. This is what I've been seeing. You don't have to put enough effort. Um, so I give you an example of if you read LinkedIn. For those who read LinkedIn, they can see that some people says only after 200 on the average. On after 200 applications, then I got an interview. So statistically, 1 out of 200 to get an interview. And then if you put less than that, for example, I'm not saying 200 is the absolute number, but this is what I've seen it 200. If you don't do 200 to get one interview, then if you do 50, for example, statistically, you still have zero chance to get interview. If you put even 100, you still have as good as zero chance to get for interview, assuming that everything is normal. So you really have to, put yourself out there and then provide the best, and then the best wins. The other point is you must be willing to postpone your dream job. Yeah, say for example, I talk about the big fours. I talk about we want to work for the big company for oil and gas, for example, right? And then you want to work for big manufacturing companies, for example. But you have to delay that first. You have to start somewhere, start in a small company, start with whatever, and then you can always come back. It's easier to get a job while you're working than to get a job while you are not working. So you have to be working in anything that is small, but you still can stay within your area. Don't really go that far off if you can, but else if you have no choice, then you can drift a bit, then you can always come back, provided that while you're working, you are building your character, you're building your knowledge, you're building your transferable skills to your dream job. So you always have at the back of your mind that, I'm going to jump to the dream job when the time is right. So you always have to say what your dream job needs you. You have to know this, what your dream job requires, and then you look at yourself whether do you have this or not, and then you're building from there. Then you start small. You even have to get out of your field of studies. That's why I go back to at the beginning just now when I talk about the field of studies. I think it's better to move for university as well to move from very specific courses or very specific programs to more generic, like back to basics. For example, if it's engineering, it's electrical, civil, chemical, mechanical. Those are the basic engineering that we have to go back to. Then later when you want to get a job, so it's not like you really have this mechatronic, for example. That is a combination between mechanical engineering and electronics. And then it depends on how you structure your program. Then it becomes you are neither mechanical nor electronics engineers. So you are floating somewhere in between that you cannot fit either way. It's better to go back to mechanical engineering, for example, that you can always work in electronic industry, or you become an electrical engineering plus electronics, you can always work in any other industries because the basic principle is there. It's more like, it's not so much on the technical that you learn, it's more like, how to use that programs to develop you in terms of problem solving, for example, in terms of critical thinking, or in terms of behavior, in terms of attitude, rather than to focus on the technical skill. Because any technical thing that you learn in college is just very basic, that if you go to the industry, you have to learn it from scratch. You have to start learning it from scratch anyway. But you have to have the capabilities of critical thinking and asking good questions, and then you train your mind to understand a complex problem faster and easier. Therefore, anything that is thrown at you, you can easily learn and pick it up in a very short period of time. Then you look at this, you explore this commonality. That means what is common in the field of studies, and then the field of you want to go. Engineering is engineering, for example. But if you want to go out, let's say you're engineering, you want to go into business, that is also doable. Engineering into sales, that is also doable. But you cannot, let's say, engineering to accounting or accounting to engineering. That doesn't work. But you have to look at those commonality. What can you apply from what you learn into the industry that you want to jump into? It's not necessarily that you stay in the field of studies. In some cases, that your field of studies is not your interest anyway. Just because, because of the second choice or the third choice, because the first choice is full, or whatever reason that you're getting into your studies, but you still want to go to do something different out there. And you can open up to do something out of your field of studies. But if your field of studies is very generic, let's say, for example, business admin, you're doing English, or you're doing literature, for example, those are the journalism. Those are the area at which you can fit anywhere, and then you can work anywhere. Those are more flexible in terms of employability. What you need to do is you just have to tune your skills and knowledge into that. Okay, this is the thing that people make mistake, and make use of the internship to be able to contribute immediately. So this is the internships. It depends on the quality of internship that you're gonna get. That's why I would encourage the university to help. I heard a lot of cases that university do not help students to get the internship. Students have to look by themselves, and then they don't even know where they have to look and what they have to look. Then because of the time pressure, they ended up grabbing anything that they have to. And then now becomes to the point they become a tea lady, become a clerk, become a runner. That doesn't really help in terms of internship. So the internship is a time where you can contribute immediately to the company. Therefore, you can use that experience, and even better if you can be absorbed into the existing company, if you like the job and you like the environment. So this internship also plays a very important role. That's why we have this internship anyway. Else, if just to pass time, then it doesn't help you. It doesn't help anyone. It doesn't help university either. So really have to come up with the solid internship programs, get those companies to be part of the internship programs. Therefore, you can always have an agreement with the company that to take, 5, 6, or 10 internship slots with them on the semester basis, for example. That if you get into that, agreement, then that will be the best, where your interns always, or your students always get a placement in a known good company with a known good culture, so that it can develop you as a good intern, as opposed to, doing odd jobs during internship. Any question?
So far, no, sir.
Okay. Good. So it's going to be very quick then if there's no question. Yeah. Okay, again, I hope what I'm sharing is answering the questions of whether or not indirectly, not directly, obviously, indirectly, whether is it true that the jobs today are extinct. So there are still job available out there. It's only then we have to look, and then we really have to prepare ourselves to get to the interview, and then eventually you get a job. And then we really have to um, distribute ourselves in terms of, say, for example, locations of the job. Yeah, I understand that is a cost of living. Let's say, for example, you're not from KL, then most of the job in KL area, for example, moving to KL is going to be expensive, but the salary is the same like where you are. That is a part of the challenge that we have to go through. And the thing is, you are better off if you have a job rather than you don't. So that is my point. Okay. So this is a big topic that we talk about again on the starting salaries. For the big companies, they have a standard starting salaries. Normally, you don't really have a chance to discuss, or don't really have a chance to negotiate. What I heard is, and from my experience, those fresh graduate who has a better score, CGPA, they can get a couple hundred more than those on average. So that is the then also it depends. It depends on your roles and responsibilities. Yeah, I heard if you're accountant, you go to the big fours, you can start at 4.6. Four, 4.5, 4.6. But if you work in manufacturing, probably you start with, I don't know, 2.3, 2.4. If you're good in 2.7, and even within the manufacturing, those that involved in the design, involved in R&D, they may get more. But there's not much room to negotiate, really. What is offered is more on the table, that you can take it, because if you don't take it, and then the next person will take it. To the company, there's no reason for them to offer you better salary, especially for those who are fresh graduate. For those who are experienced, there's a different story, because if your experience is unique, and then you are the only one who has the experience, of course, you can always name your own price. That is something else altogether. But if you just fresh graduates, and then you're just standard like anybody else, that's why it's very important to have a unique skill or a unique knowledge. Therefore, that adds value to your asking salary. Yeah, it's more on your value rather than you're just entry level with the same like any others. You are coming as an entry level with value, then you may have a lot more. So it varies, as I said, CGPA, maybe a high CGPA gets a little bit more, varies from science and engineering. It's not just flat. If you're science engineering, if you're non-science, non-engineering, those rates are different. And then it depends also on the role responsibilities. For the big companies, normally they're very structured. So for the small companies, it depends on the budget. It depends on their role and responsibility. It depends how much you have to do, how much is expected from you. And there's a lot of other factors that play the important role in your salary. But to me, it shouldn't be a bigger factor unless you are supporting, your parents, you need that money, or you're supporting somebody else that you need the money, then it's something else. But still, having a job is a lot better than do not have a job. Yeah, because it's still money, even though they say, yeah, I make 2,000, for example, it's still better than not making anything. Focus on TCC. This is the standard terminology, a total cash compensation. Some companies give you a lower basic salary, but give you big bonus, and then give you some more allowance on the top. So that contribute, then also your benefits. Some other benefits, then this is where we call it TCC, total cash compensation. like standard compensation, like health benefits. I also come to know that some companies don't even offer the health care benefits to their employees. So this is something big. If something happens to you, then you need medical attention that is also considered as benefits. Not just focus on the basic salary, but focus on total compensation. But at the end of the day, in a year, for example, normally I look at in the total annual salary. What is your total annual salary, including bonuses and allowance, and then claim travel allowance, for example? If you put it all together, what will be your total cash compensation? Basic salary may be low, but if you add all those, then it may give you a better advantage in terms of salary. Okay, any question?
Yes, sir, we have a question.
Sure.
We as a fresh graduates, can we demand our salary?
As a fresh graduate, I do not advise you to demand your salary because that put your hiring at risks. They have a few candidates that they shortlisted. As soon as you reject the salary that they offer, they're gonna offer the next one because the next one is pretty much similar to you in terms of knowledge and skills and then qualities. So I don't advise you to negotiate the salary, but you can normally, what does it mean by salary negotiation in Malaysia? This is interesting. Salary negotiations in Malaysia is, in practice, is for the company to negotiate with you so that you have a lower salary. Say, for example, you come in, you say, I want 4,000. And then the negotiation is for the company to reduce the salary for you by a couple hundred. Not so much on you, especially for fresh graduate. You don't have a bargain power as far as salary. I would advise not to, but unless it's really, really bad. I would say, for example, you have a degree in engineering, they offer you 1,005, for example. Then you can negotiate a little bit more. But you have to know that negotiating the salary is risking you for not getting a job. You have to know how to negotiate. Yeah, the art of negotiation with the HR normally. Yeah, but not with the hiring manager, but with HR. Normally, they do have a budget for that position, especially the entry level.
Yes, sir. Next question is, the most of job vacancies stated that applicant must have at least 1 year of experience in that particular field. If we as a fresh graduate, is it okay for us to apply for that job?
Yes. To me, the way I see it from my experience is anything from 1 to 3 years old. 3 years experience is as good as a fresh graduate. Yeah. Why they say 1 year experience? Simply because else there will be too many people applying, right? Even with 1 year experience, there's too many people applying already anyway. Every applications, especially MNCs, I'm coming from MNCs, I think similar to SMEs, they have to screen through every application that comes in. You can imagine if 1,000 of them that comes in because there's no filter, and then they will have a hard time screening it through. One thing. And second is they may screen it very quickly. Some people say 5 seconds, but I doubt it. I mean, you cannot see anything in 5 seconds. I would say between 20 to 30 seconds to screen your application for the first round. And then for the second round, they do it a little bit longer. But I would say anything between 1 to 3 years of experience is as good as a fresh graduate. You can you can already try to apply for this job. Why I say so, especially for those who have internship. For those who have internship, then for those who are doing FYP, and then for those who are doing the design project, they call it IDP. On this, FYP is already a year. So you have a year worth of experience as far as I'm concerned. And then you also have maybe 1 semester of doing design, or maybe 2. That adds up another half a year experience worth at least. And then you're also doing your internship. Some of them goes even as high as 7 months or 6 months. That is already easily 2 years of experience, worth of experience. That is relevant experience. That's why it's very important. It's very, in your resume, you have to stress your final year project for those who have final year project. For the program that do not have, and then you have to focus on some other project that you're dealing with that takes, a year or 6 months or above. That worth mentioning. So, in summary, anything up to 3 years, as long as your resume is in tip-top conditions, you have what they need, what they take, what they're looking for in terms of attitude. It's not so much on what you know about the process, what you know about the product, what you know about the systems. That one is you can always learn, but you have to have the attitude of 1 year or 2 years experience. That is what they're looking for. If you do have that attitude, you have what it takes, then you can apply.
Thank you, sir. The next question is, in what basis the employer will look to the
Can you repeat the question, please? It's breaking up.
Sorry. In what basis the employer will hire us after a particular job we applied? Is it based on skills that we have, or CGPA, or the experience we have?
Okay. First, of course, before they call you for interview, then your resume has to be in the tip-top conditions. That means the resume really represents the person that the hiring manager is looking for. In terms of your experience here, I'm not saying just working experience in college, experience during your studies, experience in life, for example, your background. So that is the one of the characteristics they're looking for. And then, of course, your performance in education. Many people say CGPA don't mean a thing, but some HR manager or some hiring manager will look at your performance. Your CGPA translates into your attitude. That for those who gets a better CGPA, normally they are more serious in their studies. They take care of their jobs. They take care of their roles and responsibility as their students. And then therefore, we hope that the behavior will continue at work. So it goes back to they're focusing on behavior and attitude to begin with. Then look at your technical skill. Of course, your screening or the CGPA, the formality, that one you cannot avoid for this company that really pay attention or make it serious that you have to have like 3.2 or 3.3. That the first screening criteria, that one is you have to respect that. There's not much we can change about it. But the rest is just your performance during interview. First, your resume is really good, matched with what they're looking for. And then during the interview, that you really can prove that what's in the resume is actually the person that presents. Yeah. If you cannot prove the person in the resume that it's really you, even though you are the one who writes the resume, but you cannot prove, then that would be a problem. That's why you fail the interview. What I've seen is, from my experience, it's not so much on the candidates cannot sell themselves during the interview. It's more like communication barrier. A communication barrier here, I'm not saying that they cannot speak English. The communication barrier is just cannot speak, period. Even though if we had the interview in their mother tongue, they still cannot present themselves, cannot, really communicate. that is where the communication is. People make mistake of saying communication is your proficiency in English, but some of them cannot even speak in whatever language that they normally speak. That is the if you fail to sell yourself to the hiring manager in HR, and then there's no way that for HR and the hiring manager to know you whether you fit for the job or not. Unless, yeah, maybe we can get help from your referee, you can get help from your friend, but that doesn't work that way. Unless, yeah, I would say, yes, your friend recommends you, and then your friend talks to the hiring manager saying how good you are, then probably that helps a bit. But in normal case, that you have to really sell yourself during the interview. If you fail to do that, no matter how good you are, the hiring manager cannot gauge, or the HR cannot gauge what kind of person are you really. That would be, I would stress that more on top of your CGPA.
Thank you.
Any more questions?
The question is, how economic gig benefits the graduates in getting their dream job?
When you're talking about economic gig, you're talking about those are doing selling or dropship or doing whatever the side income in a sense, right? Is that what you mean when you say economic gig? You say okay. Okay. If I understand it correctly, your question is that helps a lot, because during this activity, academic gig, for example, if you're selling service, if you're selling products out there, and then you are you know the product well, you know how to sell, you know how to deal with people, you know how to negotiate, you know how to present, you know how to communicate, you can deal with hardship, you can deal with people, so many people, so you are good with people. So to me, that helps when economy start to picks up. And then if you apply for the job, then you put that into your resume, then your chances is very high to get a job. Or even better, you don't have to work for somebody else. Then you can just continue. If you're doing it very well, you continue on with that, then you are the one who's hiring somebody eventually. So that will be good. So I would say it's not so much on what you do. Let's say, for example, you talk about this part-time job, right? For example, in the old days, we had this part-time job, even now still. It doesn't really matter what you do as a part-time. What's important is it develops you into somebody that more mature, it's have a very it's very entrepreneurship spirits, and then you have experience in problem solving, you have experience in dealing with pressure, you have experience in talking to stranger, because when you start working, everybody is stranger, everybody you have to build, so you will have no problem to approach people at every level, including a CEO. You can walk into CEO. Across MNC, it's very difficult to get into your CEO, but your local MD still can have a chance to do that. That is, to me, is a very good experience. So you're not going to be a shy entry level fresh graduates who likes to sit in the corner during the meeting, or you only work alone in your cube. That is not what we're looking for, because nowadays people, the hiring manager is looking for the team player, is looking for collaborator, looking for communicator. So for those who can do well alone in the corner, it's not that it's not that desired anymore. It used to be in the old days, yes, but now it's more, we want people more open up, which is if you do economic gig and then you already train yourself, it depends how long you're doing it, but it's already trained yourself into we call it strive for excellence in one of the behaviors that we're looking for. You always strive to excellence. You always want to be better than yesterday. You always want to get more sales, for example. You always want to get more money. So you have this entrepreneur spirit. That's good. Any more?
You said graduating as we are facing COVID-19.
Sorry, I missed the first part.
Yeah, I'll repeat that. As we are facing pandemic like COVID-19, is it advisable to find a job in online before even graduating?
Yes. You can start looking for a job at the final year, for example. Yeah, there's no one's gonna stop you. You can prepare your resume already. Then hopefully by the time you graduate, you get a job. But of course, you have to risk a situation at which people have to forego you because they have to wait for you, and 6 months later, for example, you may find a job that fits into your the criteria that you're looking for, but the company normally wants somebody right now, or at most 3 months, because in some companies, if they're hiring somebody it's not fresh, they're hiring somebody that is currently working, the notice period is as long as 3 months, but the standard notice period is about 2 months. Some companies have 3 months, so that's the longest they can wait. On the average, the company can wait up to 2 months. Normally, they will pay the third month. For those who have 3 months, they pay the third month, or some of them willing to pay. If your salary is not that expensive, they're willing to pay your notice period 1 or 2 months immediately. So no one's going to stop you. You can apply, but you have to understand the risk. If they want you to start immediately, then you have to let it go. But given the time right now is the waiting period to get a job is about 6 to 7 months, and then starting looking for a job at the final semester will be the beginning of the final semester will be the best options to go. I would encourage that.
Yes, sir. That's all for now.
Okay, good. So let's continue on. What else that we do on the job hunting strategy? First, personal branding. Yeah, now people talk about personal branding. People talk about what's your activity online? What is your Facebook activity? What's your Insta? What's your TikTok? Or whatever those online branding. Your brand has to be online and also offline. When people start to know you, say for example, you're applying for a job and then people say, yeah, the hiring manager know you because your Facebook activities or your LinkedIn activities and whatever. So for those who have not creating their personal branding or for not intensifying their personal branding, please do. LinkedIn is the best place to do it, but you can do it anywhere that you like. And then for those who have a, let's say the gila, those crazy online activities, you may want to stop that, yeah, because you don't want to be known as a crazy person. Then all those activities that you have it online that you upload into your Facebook, and then your comments, your postings on the Facebook or any social media out there that is, it has a politics, or it has basically it gives you a bad brand. You may want to stop it and then start rebranding yourself by removing all those activities that you say is not relevant. Yes, when you are in college, when you are young, it makes sense probably, but now you are entering the job market, those activities are no longer relevant. Therefore, you want to be a better person with a better brand. You can always rebrand yourself, even you have to, if you want to close the account, open a new account that is really a new you, that will be the best, because those activities are where the hiring managers and then the recruiters look to know you better. Because nowadays people expose almost everything, including what's in their underwear in the internet. So you have to be careful on what you do, on what you post, what you share, and then you always want to create a good brand. Then sell yourself. I don't mean the negative way, in the positive way. You sell yourself. You attend. Now that we have a lot of online meetings, online gathering, teh tarik session here, the mamak session there. They're all online. There shouldn't be any reason for you not to participate. And then you participate all of this program. Meet the hiring manager. Meet the recruiters. And then you just, sell yourself and saying that you are looking for a job, you are wide open, and then sell what you can do, sell your experience, everything that you can sell about yourself. Sell it in the social media, sell it when you meet somebody at the wedding, you sell it when you balik kampung, sell it when you talk to strangers on the bus, sell it, and sell it. Then we talk about the chemistry between hiring managers and candidates. This is, I would say, is a killer, right? Is it really a killer? Because if you don't have chemistry with the hiring manager, somehow the first impression, like, it can go from you as well. You don't like the hiring manager, for example, and then the hiring manager don't like you, and then this one is you cannot not much we can do. But we can do, however, during the interview. Of course, you don't know the impression, but during the interview, you present the good side of you, that's saying that whatever the impression that they have about you is wrong. You prove them wrong. So this is where you create that chemistry. It's more, chemistry is not much we can do about, just like, your future wife, your girlfriend, for example. If you just don't like it, your boyfriend, if you don't like that person, you don't want to approach, you don't even want to say hi. But this is a chemistry that more like a perception. But even if you've been friend and then it just doesn't work, it doesn't work. Yeah, it's not much you can do about it. Then I stress the resume quality. Your quality of the resume is not copy and paste. It's not copying from your friend who's also struggling to get a job, and then really get a very good quality. I call it a functional and then a practical resume quality. Quality here, it doesn't mean, beautifully designed, a lot of infographics. That's not, it's not what I mean. What I mean is the contents of your resume, the way you present your skill, the way you write, the language that you use, and then what goes into your resume. That's very important. Understand the job descriptions. This is important. If you don't understand the job descriptions that you have to want to apply, get help from those who are experienced, who have experience in the field, especially. You can get your seniors, you can get your friend who's already working, and what every line in the job description means. Therefore, you can well prepare to apply for the job, and then to tune your resume to fit into job description. Then, of course, your interview performance, you have to be a tip-top communication, body language, the way you dress, the way you walk, even the way you shake hands. Of course, nowadays we don't do a face-to-face anymore, but in case if you do, and then the way you shake hands, the way you communicate, the way you look. Because right now, communication online, you have to look at the camera, basically you look at on the eye. Then you really have to, express your when answering the question during the interview, then it really comes from your heart. It's not like you memorize and then you fake it. As far as possible, be genuine, be you, is basically just be you, yeah. And of course, the best quality version of you. And don't underestimate the communication skill. As I said earlier, communication skill is not just the English proficiency, but communication skills includes how you communicate, the choice and language, the tone that you're using, and then the way how the selections of words, that you use during your presentation or during your dealing with anybody while you selling yourself. And then last but not least is your attitude. Yeah. So attitude, it talk about a personality, it talk about being nice, talk about the tone of language, the selection of words that you talk, and then you just how you carry yourself, how do you deal with these people. I'm not saying you really have to put them as a god or any bigger being, but just respect as a human being, and then just be yourself. And don't be afraid. Don't create a gap between your hiring manager and you that in only just give you a lot more pressure. But the respect is there, but to the level that you are very comfortable. Okay, so this is my last slide. I have roughly about 15 minutes, but I'm not going to spend 15 minutes. And this one, I flash. This one, I just got it from LinkedIn. Somebody posted it. So, is it true that the jobs today are extinct? So these are the job that is. I would say yes, is about to extinct. It still have, but a very low minimum. Decreasing in demand that eventually it will extinct, and then this is the one that is really coming. Of course, I'm not gonna. If you have this digital marketing and strategy specialists, it's really good because everything now is advertised digitally on do the digital marketing. This is where my son is right now. Then we're talking about this AI and the machine learning specialists. We need a lot more of this data scientists, data analysis, and a big data specialists, but we don't have right now. But the thing is, on the top three, what I say is if you have these skills alone, right now the application is not really that good. Many of this application is more into manufacturing, for example. You have to know basic engineering as well in order to do this data analytics. Otherwise, you cannot make sense out of that data if you don't know anything, any engineering background on what kind of data that you analyze, and then what can you use on that data. And then process automation, which is where I am right now. This is going to be demand, like the question that was asked earlier. There will be a lot of automation is going on across the board, across the industry, agriculture, banking, manufacturing, oil and gas, and service even. This is coming in. Digital transformation, information security, because everything is online, then of course we need this information security, and then the coder or the software developer. Then there's IoT in general. That's going to be huge. So this is the one that is going down, and it's not really applicable at this moment. So that really concludes my presentation today. So I hope I answer the questions, and I answer, especially the main question is it true that the jobs today are extinct?
Sorry, sir.
With that, I'm gonna return it back to you. Sure.
So
Go
the
ahead.
first question, to secure a job for a long time, approximately 1 year, is it advisable for us to pursue masters or continue seeking for any job despite the relevance of the job with our field of study? For example, engineers get employed as a clerk.
Okay. First, you have to analyze what is the reason why you still cannot get a job even after a year. you have to analyze that or get help from somebody that can analyze. There's a lot of career coaches out there that you can engage with. Really analyze why, or is there anything wrong with your resume, or is there something wrong with your, if your resume is good and you receive invitation for interview, but you cannot perform during the interview. For me, I think it's 1 year is a bit too long, even in this current situation. 1 year started before even COVID, yeah. So it's something really fundamentally wrong there. But if you're going into masters, it looks like you have a very good result. Else you cannot go into masters unless local universities that really has a very low requirement for you to pursue your masters. But if you want to go and do your masters, you have to be sure that what you're going to do next after your masters. Because you are struggling to get a job with your bachelor degrees, then I can imagine it's going to be a lot worse after you're graduating with masters. If you know what you do, somebody already signed it in blood of saying after graduation with this masters, they're going to give you this job, by all means. But if you still just to, just to improve your employability, masters will not do that. Unless you do a master's in UK or in the US or any other developed countries, then you find a job there, that's something else. That one is, by all means, do it. You're going to have a better chance having a chance to get a job on those developed countries with masters than in Malaysia. Else, I would just focus on looking for a job. If you really want to do your masters, then when you work for a couple years, and then you can continue with your masters while you're working. That helps. Okay.
Thank you, sir. The next question, last one is, what would your advice for a fresh graduate that want to secure a job at overseas but unfortunately did have a low pointer, which is third class graduate? Would pursuing master is good despite having a professional certificate?
Okay, it's breaking up a bit, but if I understand it, the fresh graduate result is not that good, and but have a professional certification. But how do you get professional certification without having experience? That does not make sense, because a professional certification only if you do have experience. But to get a job overseas with low CGPA, and then at the entry level, other than Singapore, I think anywhere else is not feasible. In Singapore, you still can have a chance, but still, the hiring manager or the company that hire you has to justify to the government why they hire you instead of local. So you have to prepare that you do have a skills that nobody else there has, to justify for the government, to get the approval from their government. But if you pursue your masters, to me, it doesn't make sense either, because you have poor result in the bachelor degree, then how can you get into master's program? That doesn't make sense. But if you do get into the master's program, that master's program helps you in terms of results. But having masters make it more difficult to get a job. So at the end of the day, it washes away your chance. You still get back to where you were. So what do you have to do then? What you have to do is, even though you have a low CGPA, for example, of your low performance, you look for the job that having, you don't go for the big companies. You go for tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. You go all the way down until whatever, until the lowest you can go. Then you start from there. Then as soon as you get that, you hold it for a couple of years, then you may come back. You may go back to where you want to go. But normally I use this as analogy of you're driving a car, right? If you're driving a car and then you climb the hill and then you at the 5th gear, you cannot stay at the 5th gear. You have to downshift to 4, to 3rd, to 2nd, even to 1st in order to move up to the hill. Then once you get the momentum, then you go back to the gear that you were before. So the career is the same thing. If you cannot start with the fifth gear, then you have to start with the first gear. I mean, you have to start with the first gear anyway. It doesn't make sense to start with the fifth gear. But this is what, this is how my proposal is. You have to start really, really at the bottom, not only at the bottom level in the company, but the bottom of the company, of the industry, anywhere. Let's say, for example, we were looking at oil and gas. And then those are the smaller companies that is supporting oil and gas, for example. Or if you're manufacturing, those are small, privately owned manufacturing somewhere that to gain experience. Then you can move up to the higher level. Okay. Any more questions?
No more
Okay,
questions.
so I think if there's no more questions, the time is up anyway. I hope I answer the questions. I hope I meet the expectations of people who attending the talk today. I really appreciate your time. 1.5 hours on Monday afternoon is quite a lot of time actually, but I hope I help. But if you want to continue having discussion, or if you want to ask me a question in private, I can be reached in LinkedIn. Look me up in LinkedIn, where this is my profile. You can always connect with me, and then we can continue the discussion there if you want on more specific or more private question that you have.
All right, thank you, sir.
All right,
Terima
so
kasih
that's
atas-
all from me. Then back to you. Terima kasih.
Terima kasih atas perkongsian Encik Ishak Karim sebentar tadi. Pelbagai ilmu baru yang dapat kita aplikasikan sebagai seorang yang bergelar mahasiswa, bakal graduan, bakal pekerja, mungkin bakal penting. Untuk maklumat para penonton, tinggal 3 hari lagi ke tarikh 17 Disember 2020 iaitu tarikh tutup penyertaan CE Competition. Terdapat 4 pertandingan, antaranya video resume, LinkedIn profile, infografik, poster, virtual business pitching, dan kami ada sediakan hadiah yang lumayan untuk dibenangi. Bagi pertandingan business pitching, hadiah pertamanya ialah RM500 dan jangan lupa juga untuk sertai grup Telegram kita iaitu Memburu Kerja UPM. Tampaknya masa sudah menceburi kita. Sebelum saya mengakhiri slot kita pada petang ini, saya suka ingatkan kepada para penonton untuk like dan share Facebook page CEM UPM. Maklumat lebih lanjut berkenaan program virtual ini turut dapat dilihat melalui FB page. Jangan lupa temu janji kita pada slot esok yang bertajuk Get Your LinkedIn bersama Mr. Koh Musyahan. Dan jangan lupa juga untuk membuat pendaftaran untuk mendaftarkan e-certificate serta e-merit kepada pelajar UPM. Dengan itu berakhirlah bicara ilmu kita pada petang ini. Sekian, terima kasih. Jumpa anda pada esok hari.